Alright folks, this is part 7 I believe to my battle. You can see it all laid out in front of you. Now currently this is what it looks like almost halfway into turn 2. So quite a bit has happened, especially on the left, the Union left. We're going to kind of focus on that right now, as you can see right there. And let me try and explain this as best I can, and then give you my observations, considering the rules and mechanics, how well they flow, and so on. One thing you'll notice right away is that Early's brigade, this is Early right here, he's an aggressive brigadier. He's marked with an A on his counter. That does count for something in the game, the battle. He was back here kind of in reserve. He has since moved up and has engaged the Union line up here. In particular, who is this right here? Some of Green's brigade he engaged, but also mainly Geary's, which are the yellow units, like this unit right here. As you can see, Geary's brigade is pretty much all over the place. You know what, let's go over here first. Let me start with Forno's brigade. Forno's brigade did get involved in the action, of course, and he was killed leading the attack. That immediately put his entire brigade out of command. As you can see, I have this marker here to show that. Basically, what happened here is I tried to change the orders of Forno. I should have done it during the divisional orders change part of the turn sequence. It's basically free, but I didn't for some reason. So during the brigade activation for his division, I attempted to change his orders from advance to attack, and that's a die roll. And wouldn't you know it, I got loose cannon as a result. And basically what happens with that, all of the units in his brigade, they basically charge the closest enemy. Forno himself joined one of his units in the attack, allowing them to avoid a penalty in shock combat. Unfortunately, Forno was killed. And the result of that is it put all his units out of command. So that's one less activation for these guys. And they did have 3 for this brigade, but it was maxed at 2 because of that. And they just completed their 2 activations, so these guys are done for turn 2. And basically, the first turn they engaged some of Prince's units, broke the line basically. Prince's force is scattered over here, and also here, where one of his units is out of command still. But Prince's force, his line anyway, kind of disintegrated. He spent his second activation trying to pull back his units, gather them together, do some rallying. Well, Forno wasn't actually doing it. He was killed. But yeah, that's what happened here. Their attack orders remain until a replacement can be put on the battlefield to replace Forno, and that was that. So this is his situation currently. He has most of his units concentrated back here facing the enemy, 2 disordered units. And this unit up here as well. Kind of way out here. He's taken 1 hit, but he's hunkering down in these woods after doing some fighting with the enemy. So that's Forno's brigade. He's done for the turn, folks, and out of command. There's a phase to get replacements. I think it follows this segment of the turn, if I remember correctly. Not sure, I'll check that. Over here, of course, we have, what's his name? Trimble. Trimble's brigade. He's got I think he has 3 units back here. Is it just 2? Let me see. No, it's just 2. He's got 2 regiments back here. He's with them. He's got 1 more up here that's out of command currently. But he's also combat ineffective for the turn, which means he takes 1 less activation than normal. Well, actually, he's maxed at 2 activations. His division takes 3, so he's bumped down to 2, much like Forno at this point. And he has already taken his 2, so he's also done for the turn, like Forno. His brigade is done. This unit over here, as you can see, is out of command. It's part of Trimble's brigade. And the result of this out of command is that he has to take a maximum of 1 less activation that his brigade takes. And like I said, his activation, being combat ineffective, only has 2 activations for the turn. So this unit only has 1. So he also is done. In fact, the only thing he did this turn was rally, and he did do that. Also, this one regiment here went in extended order, something I haven't tried out in the rules yet. To strength 10, actually it took some losses here. Yeah, he took one loss, so he's actually strength 9. And being extended mean part of that is over here, so he actually occupies 2 hexes. But look at the rules, that really benefits you when you shoot, because you're shooting from 2 different hexes. And normally you only shoot from 1 hex, and the strength points you can use for shooting is limited to basically 7 strength points for infantry. But by spreading out in an extended line, it allows him to use strength points from both hexes. Something like that. Interesting. I haven't used it yet so far. It's the first time I'm using extended line, but I like the rule. So that's what's going on over here with Trimble's brigade. Not much, but the real tale is right here, what we started with, and this is Early's brigade, who came out of this position back here to move forward, and he is under attack orders currently. I believe I changed that this turn. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think he was on advance, but I did put him on attack. I figured let's add to the pressure here in Augur's division and go against Geary's brigade, which they did. They hit them, and they hit them hard. And Geary, right now, they did make a stand where they could. They didn't pull any of their troops back prior to shock with retreat, but they took quite a bit of damage. Geary and Augur are both in this hex with 2 of Geary's units, both Ohio regiments, I believe, the 66th and 5th Ohio, both disordered, haven't taken any strength point losses. Yeah, so that's the situation there. And they are also under attack orders. So actually, they couldn't retreat from the combat. They did make their stand, they did fight, and they end up retreating it anyway. Geary also has a unit up here, kind of isolated in a way, with 2 hits. That's the 7th Ohio, holding its own. It's got rebels on its flank and to its rear back here. This is from Fornow's brigade, right here. Well, what was Fornow's brigade? Fornow has lost his life. And of course, right here we have Early himself leading the charge. He is an aggressive sort of fellow. That'll be a bonus in shock combat. We were originally back here when we made the attack with Early, and he did force the enemy to retreat, which is back here, and they didn't take any losses. Just at the end of the shock combat, all these guys were disordered. That's why you see them flip to their disordered side. But they took no strength point losses, so that was good. I could have continued the shock, and probably should have at this point. I was going to continue the shock into this hex, but there's actually more Union in there that I care to go up against, but they're all disordered. And these guys weren't disordered at that time. And plus I had Early leading them. I don't know, but I decided against it. He does have 2 regiments, and they're not very strong. There's a 4 and a 3. 4 and a 2. That's only strength 6. So I didn't like those odds. I think he has like 10 or 12 strength points there. So I called it quits there. That's okay. And we also had a combat over here. These units, there's 2 of them. They were stacked. Again, because of that loose cannon result, they charged forward against the closest enemy, and that was over here against Green's brigade. They engaged both of these units, who withdrew, but in the second activation for this division, they did do some shooting and some close combat. There was no charging, unfortunately, and both units are disordered. This one's taken 5 hits, and it absorbed a lot of punishment from the musketry fire, or the rifle fire of the Union. This unit is strength 8. It's only disordered, no hits. Unfortunately, this top unit, you have to bear with me, folks. I'm doing this sitting sideways, so it's a little more difficult to get things lined up. But it is collapsed. It's 1 strength point away from being wiped out. So that's that. And also here, Green's brigade did take some damage. This unit took 2 strength point losses. It's disordered. This small unit has taken 1. It's 1 more away from being collapsed and destroyed. Once it takes that last one, it's eliminated. Nothing left. It's only got 2 strength points. Yeah, so Green's small brigade of 2 regiments is quickly fading away. In fact, if you look at it, pretty much the whole Union battle line is quickly fading away. There's just too many rebels. They're just all over. They could afford to have all these units, the brigades basically, held back. So, another thing that happened this turn is that Ewell, the division commander over here of these three brigades that I just described, he basically got almost three activations in a row were pulled from the cup. I mean, the first two, one was because of initiative. So his division went first. He gained initiative, and he chose Ewell to go first in the turn. So that was one. And then during the pulls from the cup, Ewell's came up again. And the pull after that, I believe, was Hill's division, which again was for the rebels. That's over here. So he went next. And then after that, wouldn't you know it, Ewell got his third and final activation after Hill's. So Ewell has had all three activations before the Union can do anything. So that's one of the reasons you're not seeing the Union here able to respond to these attacks and shore up the defenses and try and consolidate somewhere. It's just falling apart here. Let me see what Hill did, because he did have that activation. Not much. They didn't do a whole lot because they're having so much success on the other flank. Kind of let's focus and gather ourselves here, basically. And what they did do is they did get aggressive here with Pender's brigade, which is way over here on the rebel left. If you remember, they've been putting a lot of pressure on Crawford's brigade over here, and they kind of continued that. I think they moved this regiment up to do some shooting. There was no close combat or shock combat. I think he attempted some rallies. I'm not sure. This is their current locations at the moment. So, yeah. Let's see. We've got Thomas's brigade, which is right here. And he was the one holding this little area in between Pender and Archer's brigade. He had this little area here. I think he had 4 regiments. He's down to 3. I think he's been regrouping and rallying his units. He's currently got all of his forces back here. He's got 1 unit back here with 2 hits rallied, and he's currently with this regiment, which has a strength point of 9 and 1 hit. So he's got these 2 back here, kind of forming a little line, supporting Pender at this point. And that's it. And this guy moved up, Archer. Archer moved his brigade up. He's got a nice battle line up here right alongside one of Thomas's regiments. And there's the other regiment for Thomas. So Thomas has 3 regiments, this one and these 2. And basically prepping themselves, forming a nice defensive line. While Pender gets a little bit aggressive here by moving this regiment up and on the flank of Crawford himself. This guy's out of command, Crawford, if you remember from the previous turn. He was busy rallying his regiment here, the 46th PA, which has taken some hits. Was forced to change facing to face this unit. There was some shooting involved, no shock combat. This is the result so far. So, although I don't know why these 2 units are way back here. I'm trying to think what I did with them. I don't think I pulled them back. I think it was rallying these units. Of course, Pender is located here, and he does have a regiment with him as well. And I think there was some shooting here, but nothing major. Again, we have a collapsed unit here. 28th New York is now collapsed. They've taken 4 points of damage, and they normally have 7. So they are collapsed. Quite a few units collapsing on the table, as you can see. So that's the current turn. I still have a bunch of markers in here. The Union has yet to go. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Union and 2 Rebel counters left to take actions with. And I'll pull one of those before I shut the video off. But really enjoying it so far, folks. This is a good game. I've been playing off and on throughout the week and really learning the system. The only thing I haven't tinkered with is artillery, although I've been reading a little bit here and there on them, as well as the cavalry. And I think that's okay. I think what I'll do is I'll jump right into Cedar Mountain and, start using those rules right off the bat. It'll still be a learning experience because of that, but that's okay. I'm pretty eager to stretch my wings here with this system and see what else is going to go on in this battlefield. Well, not this battlefield. This is just a practice game, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. So there you go. And folks, I'll get back to you with the next part, which would be part 8. Maybe that'll be the conclusion. I could probably call this game now if I wanted. The Union is pretty much beat up. Banks's corps has had it. Their left flank's been compromised, and they're slowly being whittled away on the right. So there's not much to them. They really could use some cannon, I'll tell you that. But I'm going to play it a little bit longer, probably finish at least turn 2, let the Union have a chance to get back at the rebels here. And so yeah, I think I'll just keep filming and keep going until turn 2's done. And then we'll move on to Cedar Mountain, I hope. So tell me what you think, folk. You like this game? You like this system? Any questions about it? Let me know. And I'll be sure to get back to you guys with the conclusion of this practice battle. And boy, is it bloody. Okay, folks, you take care. Hang in there. It's only going to get better. Take care.